All right, good evening. I'm Capt Kim. I am the safety officer for HAC, and I will be going over the safety points for this exercise. All right, these are the references that I draw a lot of my information from. Two key references that I do want to emphasize is 354-R-E. It's the accident incident report form. So if you ever have an accident or incident that is safety related, that is the form you fill out. That form is available at the mayor's cell and is also available by the safety officer, which is myself. And then the second regulation that provides a wealth of information is Fort McCoy Regulation 350-1, range operations. It has additional information, and usually all that information can also be provided by range control. Next slide, please. These are the points that I would like to go over for this brief. Next slide, please. All right, vehicle safety. Basically, the general rule with cell phones is drivers should not be using cell phones when operating vehicles, and neither should the TCs. They should be focusing on their route and their movement mission. If they need to use a cell phone, it is strongly recommended that they pull over and then use the cell phone. And also, one technique is for TCs to take away the driver's cell phones so they don't get preoccupied with those cell phones. The only time that you should ever use your cell phone while operating the vehicle is to determine where you are by your geographic location. Moving on to seatbelts. Seatbelts required at all times. Tactical vehicles, you should wear your helmet at all times when you're operating a tactical vehicle. And at least one NCO should be with the troops when troops are being transported inside a tactical vehicle like an LMTV. Also, troops need to be seated at all times when the vehicle is in motion. Next slide, please. All right, Fort McCoy speed restrictions. It's 30 miles an hour, even though the sign is going to say 45 miles an hour throughout Fort McCoy on high-speed avenues of approach. But when it says 45 miles an hour, below it says for tactical vehicles, they have to be moving at 30 miles an hour. It is for the safety of those that are operating those vehicles. Troops have the right of way. When you see troop crossings, troops on the side of the road, you should slow down to 10 miles an hour. And so if you have troops that are crossing, then you stop and you let them cross the road. Moving on to parking areas and inside the base camp. In all parking areas and inside the base camp, you have to have a ground guide. So basically, the vehicle will be moving at the speed of the walking speed of the ground guide. So moving as fast as the ground guide is. And then for the route to Fort McCoy from here will be determined by the company command team. Next slide, please. Heat injury prevention. Most of you should have already seen this chart before. Have a determination, leaders have a determination of how much work you want your personnel to be working, and also have a rest schedule, and also give out notifications that people should be hydrating. Also, we will also, like the mayor's cell and also range control will provide you with the current weather situation, whether we're at heat cat 5 or not. Next slide, please. The severe weather plan. This is one I would like to take a little bit more time to emphasize. Basically, if we get a severe weather warning, such as a thunderstorm with lightning, tornado, or anything that can threaten the safety of people that are operating and working inside the FOB, or even in tactical vehicle movements throughout, we will get our warnings from range control. Range control will notify us of a warning, and once we receive that warning, we have to get personnel accountability first, and preferably in a very timely manner. And then once first line leaders get full personnel accountability, they also have to get equipment accountability, and that also includes sensitive items. Once you complete all that, report to a mayor's cell that you have full accountability, you'll be evacuated out to the concrete bunkers that are available and open inside the base camps. And all right, next slide, please. The same would apply for fire procedures and if they're in the event of a fire, you have to get, the immediate thing you have to do is evacuate to a fire safe area, preferably an open area. That is free of traffic, so that the fire department can send their vehicles in, so you're not in their way, and so nobody gets hit by the actual vehicles. And so once you get full accountability, you stand by. You don't necessarily go to the concrete bunkers, but you stand by and you wait for the all clear from range control of the fire department. Same thing with medical assistance. If the CLS and the medic cannot provide further necessary treatment, then range control will dispatch an ambulance and EMTs, paramedics, and they will. And upon their arrival, you have to, when you're anticipating their arrival, you have to make sure that the access roads, access paths are clear for their arrival. And in the event of a simulated hostile indirect fire attack, you will evacuate to the bunkers. But first lines, you'll have to, one of the things, and this is a tricky thing, you don't just wait to do accountability of personnel. You just say, hey, everybody, go to the bunkers. And everybody goes to the bunkers, and then you try to figure out how you're going to get full personnel accountability. Next slide, please. Actually, go back one. Battle buddy system. If you know where your buddy's going, if they're going to go to the latrine or if they're going to go to the DFAC, just let your first lines and your buddies know, so to know where you are in the event that you have a situation where you have to evacuate and you have to do an immediate personnel accountability report. Next slide, please. Okay, this is Fog Freedom. These are what the concrete bunkers look like. In rows, they kind of look like concrete connexes, but a lot smaller. They fit about 4 to 6 personnel, depending on the size of each individual. And this is the aid station. The aid station here is located here, these 3 rows of tents, as they correspond to each other. And these concrete bunkers, they correspond here, and they're located throughout. They surround the tent city. So by immediate view, there are plenty of concrete bunkers. So when you try to evacuate to a concrete bunker and one is full, then you move on to another. And hopefully you eventually find one. And you may be able to squeeze into a bunker that already has 6 or 7 people, just for the time being. Next slide, please. All right, this is Fog Freedom again. These are the entry control points. So in and out traffic of vehicles are only going to take place by the ECPs, and they will have gate guards there. And the gate guards will inspect your vehicle dispatches and ensure that you have a proper TC and you have an NCO inside the cargo compartment if you have troops inside the cargo compartment. Next slide, please. This is Fob Liberty. The same things apply with the TMC located here, and then the concrete bunkers that are located throughout tent city. So in the event that everybody is located in their respective tents and they have to evacuate, they can immediately evacuate to the bunkers. Next slide, please. This is Fob Liberty. There are 2 entry control points in and out, or actually 3. There's one here, and then there's a main traffic avenue here. So if you're at Fob Liberty, just keep in mind that this is a high-speed, frequented avenue of approach. So you might want to look both ways when you're crossing that road, or ground guiding vehicles through that ECP or through that avenue. Next slide, please. This is a UXO report. If you find UXO, unexploded ordnance, like a mortar round, any form of pyrotechnics, so forth, one of the things you do is you gather information, as much information as you can, and then fill out this, in accordance to this 9-line, and then you mark the location, preferably with some engineering tape, and once it gets dark, maybe some chem lights. And then you report the discovered UXO to the mayor's cell or base camp UOC, and then we will relay that message to range control. And range control will dispatch EOD or whatever appropriate authorities to take care of that UXO. Next slide, please. Hazardous materials. The biggest, most common one that the 86th Training Division emphasizes is oil spills, fuel spills. a hazard, anything that, basically any liquid item that you need to conduct maintenance on your vehicles, cherry Kool-Aid, so forth. If you spill a gallon or more of that, that has to get reported. So if you spill, if spills of a gallon of those types of items, will require notification to the mayor's cell, or to your first lines, to the mayor's cell, and then we will report it to range control. But if you spill, try to get some dry sweep, try to sweep it up, try to make sure that it doesn't spread out. But if you're careful, then hopefully those spills don't happen. If you use your drip pans, those spills, you can minimize risk of those spills. And if you do your PMCS properly every day, or every day, then you can identify Class 1 leaks that can degenerate into Class 3 leaks, which pretty much deadlines vehicles. If you have a Class 3 leak and it keeps leaking, then it's pretty certain that you're going to have more than a gallon of spillage leakage. And everything, all incidents, all accidents and spills, accidents involving equipment or personnel have to be reported on 354-R-E. And then ultimately that will be submitted or filled out by the range OIC and submitted to range control. Next slide, please. This is the form. We will have it available for you. We can provide it for you if you request it. It's a fillable PDF sheet, and it works. It should work fairly well if we ever have to fill one.
That form is at least 2 or 3 copies need to be in every single vehicle in whatever glove box or whatever you want. All right, so make sure you get 3 or 4 copies of that.
All right, next slide, please. All right, these are the accident trends. Basically, if you don't do proper PMCS, if you don't properly dispatch your vehicles, first line's not checking, or properly done PMCSs, ensuring that basically the dispatch book itself is not properly done, then a lot of these can be prevented. Sometimes you want to take the shortcut to complete the mission, but if you have an issue or if you neglect or if you overlook an issue, that becomes a serious problem or a setback or even an accident that prevents you from completing your mission, then is it worth overlooking just so you can immediately fulfill that mission? So what's the point in trying to immediately complete it at your convenience than properly taking the steps so that those accidents do not happen? Always wear proper equipment. Wear your helmet when you're operating a vehicle. Always have water on you. Wear gloves, especially when you're handling hazardous materials. And also wear gloves when you're around vehicles, especially when those vehicles get hot, and you have to appropriately handle those vehicles. Preferably something, I believe you are issued Nomex gloves through your OCI gear, so please properly use those. Next slide, please. Takeaways. Always practice the buddy system. When in doubt, ask for guidance through chain of command. Always follow the proper and common military and Army leadership and safety measures. The basics: ground guiding, speed limits, TC control over the driver. Be sure you communicate with your driver. And also do proper PMCS. If you have any issues, inform your chain of command and ultimately the mayor's cell, and we will coordinate with range control as necessary. And next slide, please. And pending any questions, that concludes my brief.
Yeah, I got a couple questions. We always do, right? All right, anybody that's been a heat casualty, what's the other casualty? Heat casualties?
Cold casualty.
Was it?
Bee stings.
Yeah, bee stings, or
Allergies.
allergic to something. Please stand up. Anybody that has ever been heat, please stand up. All right. What are you supposed to do, sir? what are you supposed to have on hand at all times?